Good morning, guys. It's just approaching 9 a.m. on Thursday morning. I'm going to give you your midweek breakdown. We are a little bit late doing this. Was going to do it last night, but got a bit tired. Had a lot going on, so I thought I'd just do one for you this morning. Right, so if we start on Aussie dollar, weekly time frame, not too much to say here. Um, just one candlestick really, and you can see that this week we've already had a very bearish week, um, pushed past the previous lows and heading towards that weekly support level at 0.7050. Now on the daily time frame, you can see that most of the bearish pressure did come from yesterday, so Wednesday's candlestick. Now we were holding at that 0.7166 support level just here, which did send price to retest the moving averages, which were crossing over to the downside, but we did fail at that level, and price just absolutely melted, closing very bearish. Smashed through that 7166 support all the way to our second target at 7100. So we are now looking at 7050 weekly support, and that I am quite confident that should be met. I mean, we may pull back up slightly, potentially to this 7150 region to make a new lower high before extending downside. However, you've got to be bearish here. You just have to be. I mean, you can place that fib that we had on here, just show the lovely rejection of that refined zone, and that leaves extension targets right at this 0.7011 level. So, I mean, weekly support, you could say that's conservative target. However, that would be my initial target before looking towards this extension. So step it down to the H4. If actually, take a look at the 8 hour. Sometimes it gives us a bit of a better perspective and kind of in between time frame. Here, much the same. Bearish. The last H4, the last 8 hour candle closed bearish, although it was slightly less so than the others as we approach previous lows. So we may be seeing this candle close something like this, um, or we may see that spike to the downside before pulling back up. So on the 4 hour time frame, there you go. We had some indecision there 2 candlesticks ago with a spinning top. Despite this, price did push lower, and now we are indecisive with just under an hour to go of this H4 candle. So again, we could pull back up to test moving average resistance before heading lower, or it may be the other way around, tap weekly support before pulling all the way back up. Just have to wait and see what happens. So now onto dollar yen. If we start up on the weekly time frame, then again here you're seeing dollar strength, massive dollar strength, and we've been running bullish ever since mid-September, and now we have just formed new highs, which fulfilled our Fibonacci extension to the absolute T. I believe that was just about one or two pips shy of that extension. but as you can see here, we are at quite a crucial zone. Price has tested this on numerous occasions and failed. So after this new high has been formed and this bullish leg, I do expect to see a pullback, which as you can see, price is already doing. So we could be closing this week as a doji or a shooting star candle and pulling back potentially down to this kind of region here. Also to test moving average support. But onto the daily time frame, as you can see, we had this bearish candle close on Tuesday, which would have suggested that we could have potentially seen downside, but this was similar to this candle over here, and again the same that happened over here. And you see time and time again in this bullish leg, it looks like we could be seeing a reversal and then price just pushes through it. So we found support on the exponential moving average, and yesterday price just exploded all the way to that 114.50 target, and as expected we are pulling back. So yeah, we will have to see how today closes, but I do expect to see at least 113.75 before the 113 level. As we have been, you can see that we've been in this bullish leg for quite some time, and price just it won't go in one direction indefinitely. So I would expect to see some form of retracement or pullback, and this seems as good a zone as any to pull back from, to be honest. So the last 8-hour candle did close nice and bearish, as an inside bar, does show indecision at this region. I mean, we are seeing a bit more indecision towards the downside at the bottom of this green highlighted zone. Now on the H4 time frame, you can see that price did close as a pin bar here. So we are seeing some hesitation towards the downside, but it looks as though we've already attempted at that upside push, and now we are heading downside anyway. Bearing in mind we are just above the exponential moving average as support. However, I can see price breaking this 113.977 first target. That would be our higher low before 113.75, and if we do reach that level, I do believe that we will be pushing all the way back down to 113. So if we take a look at USD CAD weekly time frame, you can see we had that massive gap down, moving averages crossed over nicely, and price did fall lower as expected. However, we've now seen price pull back up, and we look as though we're going to fill that weekly gap. So all the way up to the 1.2900 region. Now, with the moving average crossover and overall price action, I do expect to see further downside. However, we could come anywhere within this region, potentially for a retest of the moving averages before falling lower towards that weekly support and um, the support from the upward channel. Now on the daily time frame, you see once we met that that region, price pulled back, and we could now take that as our 0% from our Fibonacci. We formed an inside bar, and then price did move bullish. We do look as though we are rejecting the upside at this moment in time. It looks as though we will pull back from just shy of the exponential moving average, which is also just beneath the 1.29 daily resistance, and also 38.2% retracement of our downside Fibonacci. As you can see, the targets for this fib do line up quite nicely with the the uptrend, so we may be seeing price heads down there. I am quite confident of seeing that. However, it's just whether this is the rejection, or we may still see that 1.29 level being met. From the 8-hour time frame, you can see that the 2840 level did cause some problems to price. However, we did smash through that, and as you can see here, we are struggling to just push slightly higher towards that 1.2900. So this would definitely be price reversing. Take a look on the H4 time frame, then yeah, moving averages have crossed over towards the upside, but we formed that doji here with all these upside wicks. We do have upside sensitivity here. About 50 minutes to go on this current candle, and we have pulled back. Do remember that we're above moving average support. However, I'd be tempted to place a short position, something like this, so we're covered if price does decide to meet that 1.29 daily resistance, and we could be following that all the way down to that weekly support level down here. As you can see, 3.66 risk reward. Yeah, quite confident with that one. So let's take a look at GBP USD. Start on the weekly time frame. No need to go into monthly, I don't think. Right, so as you can see, we were expecting to go short here, given this setup looking like an evening star formation. After price came up this week and tapped the simple moving average, we have fell below 1.300 psychological level and below the exponential moving average. So I mean, overall, this is a lower high in this downtrend. So the next, what we'd be looking for next is a lower low past this one. I mean, this is actually the lowest point we reached in 2018. So initially, I would have targets at the 1.2750, potentially even slightly higher, before we assess price action to see if it can fall further. On the daily time frame, we actually met our targets around the 1.2940. We can see that price did pull back up from this region, but after spiking towards the moving average resistance, price failed to hold above the monthly level and mounted back towards that support zone as expected. So today we're already seeing a pullback and we could see price reach as high as that monthly resistance as well, which is at 1.300, which is also quite a big psychological level. That you can see how price responds to this level on different occasions, and it taps the level and pulls back. So with the moving averages having just crossed to the downside, it does look like a good region to meet the 1.300 monthly resistance in line with a test of the moving averages. Do be wary here though, because here on the daily time frame, although we are looking bearish on the weekly, there is the potential for reversal. We do have this setup here, which is why I had initial targets at this 1.2940 region. Price does have the potential to still push lower, down towards that 1.28 daily support, which does line up very nicely with the 78.6% retracement. However, we could just be seeing upside from this region. However, we do have this big confluence area here, the 200 EMA there, all before breaking previous highs and firing off towards a 1.347, 1.3470 region. If we step it down to the 8-hour time frame, see, I did have a position there yesterday which did come in very nicely, but yeah, you can see price came, we've been making these lower highs, lower lows, formed that lower high at the moving average resistance, failed to close above monthly support, which has now turned to resistance, had one more crack at that before falling lower. Now we seem to be making that morning star formation, but as price has just met the exponential moving average on the 8-hour, we do seem to be pulling back. Same thing on the 4-hour time frame. So we had this indecision around the well, this was actually the 1.2925 level. We've had this morning star formation. Price is back around the moving average resistance zone. So we could be forming a lower high here before heading lower towards the 1.2850, and then I would expect to see, if that we did fulfill that, I'd expect to see something like this. So then we'd follow that all the way down to that, at least to that daily support level. But then we could be coming as low as the 275 level. I think if we do break the 1.285, obviously this 1.2800 was in line with that 78.6% Fibonacci level. However, this would be a continuation downside. Alternatively, we'd be looking to break above these highs here before accepting the upside potential.